I'm Aaron,
And I'm Greg, and we're in like Moths To Flames.
and we're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
That new album, fourth album, you guys got to experiment a little bit with this new record. You guys got to test different, I wouldn't say genres, but it's a different sound. Yeah, you guys pushed a little bit of borders, but I don't think you sacrificed the record.
Not at all.
So, walk me into the studio, going in to create this record and trying things that you guys haven't tried before in the last three.
It was pretty much exactly that. We went in, we were like, hey, we've got some ideas for some stuff that hasn't ever really come out of Moths before. So we were like, hey, we want to push the borders a little bit and try a couple of things differently because we didn't want to put out the same record again.
Right.
So we had a lot of things that we were like, hey, let's give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
And if people like it, they like it, but we like it. So that's what we went with.
Was this something that you guys were thinking about in the previous records, or it just happened that on this record you guys wanted to do something different?
I think it was kind of like a totaling of like from the record, the third record. I think after that we felt like we left a lot on the table and a lot of the things we really wanted to dive into. And this new record, we worked with Erik Ron for the first time, like first different producer we've ever worked with in the whole band's career. And he really let us push boundaries, and he really pushed our vocalist Chris, and we're so happy with it. We're so glad that we did it, and it just got to the point that we were just stoked on how everything was coming out and how different it sounded, that kind of overtook worrying about what kids, how they'd perceive it or think it wasn't enough of something or whatever.
So Erik Ron, you guys were working with Will Putley for the last 3 records or 2 records?
Yeah,
So what that transition, what was that like going in with a new producer? Did it seem like going into the studio for the first time?
Kind of. It was just a different environment altogether. Before we'd recorded everything in Jersey, which is the East Coast.
Yeah.
It's cold most of the time. So we came out here and we recorded that record out, on the West Coast in North Hollywood. So it was like environment was different.
Right.
Completely different atmosphere, a lot more chill. Everybody kind of vibed and just went with what felt right.
Right. You guys actually got to get Erik Ron before all this major stuff just started with him. He's been going all over the place now. What was that experience like working with him? How did he challenge you guys on this record, aside from the challenge that you guys were already doing for yourselves?
I think, we actually met him. We stopped by the studio when we were on the Rise tour the fall before this. So it was kind of like a year going into the record ahead of time that we knew we wanted to work with him. And he kind of sat down and he was really just like we all sat together in the main control room, and he was like, what type of record do you guys want to make? Where do we want to go with this? And it was very much a team effort. And he pushed us all individually in different ways, but he knew in his head what he wanted to get out of us and what he needed from us. So sometimes it would hit points that were just what is he going for with this? What is he doing with that? But the dude's a genius, and we work together well. And then after we record, we could all go out and hang and get dinner and beers and chill. And it's that's the vibe we wanted, and he really helped create that. So
Now, on this record, we still have the heavy tracks, but we also have tracks like Nowhere Left to Sink, where there's more singing going on than the record. What was that like, writing lyrics to that for all the singing songs on there?
That's a Chris question. He's not here, but he's
Damn it, Chris.
he's the lyrical mastermind behind all of our stuff. But I think he probably took it the same way he takes everything. It was just we tried to go for a couple of songs on this record where it wasn't so much Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde back and forth between verses and choruses. He just wanted to sing more, and Erik really pushed him to figure out how to find his voice and find himself, the right way to do that, so it didn't feel like it was something completely new, but still felt new.
And how did the new sound kind of shape the way that your live show is today? Did it change much?
I think it just brought more diversity to it. We're playing half the sets from the new record, half the sets from the old record, and I think it's just a whole different type of thing. And we really took it upon ourselves to make sure that we were doing as much of the vocals and everything that we can. We really wanted to take on the new songs full stride. We didn't want to just kind of rough and be oh, they're new song. We really wanted to incorporate it as well as we could. So it's been going over really well, especially for a heavy tour like this. We were kind of worried, like you said, some of the singer songs, but it's been fucking awesome. So can't really complain. Yeah.
So now that there's diversity in your sound, do you see yourself doing a lot of different types of tours, whether it's a hard tour, it's a softer tour? Is that something that is in the back of your minds?
I think that's kind of always in the back of our minds, and I think we've opened up a new realm of bands we're capable of touring with now, which is cool. But really, it's just we'll see where the future takes us. At this point, we're just ready to rock and do whatever it takes.
Right. Now, going back into the studio, what was some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced in this new sound?
Ooh, I don't know. I think kind of over worrying about things, wondering if we were gonna do something too much or be like, do people like this? Do people fuck with this? Or they're not gonna fuck with it? So I don't know, but it just kind of got to the point that we were just listening back to songs and just loving them as songs themselves and not worrying about, oh, how is this going to go in this venue or on this tour? We were just we love these songs as songs, and I think ultimately that's the main goal of being in a band, right? So
what about instrumentation wise, like drums and bass? Did anything change? Is everything still kind of similar?
Everything's kind of similar still. We added a lot of dynamics guitar wise, where we did. We've always been kind of like a plug into the amp and rock kind of band. Whereas this record, we added a lot of atmospheric, pedals and stuff to make things feel bigger, and incorporated a lot of synth pads and stuff like that on the record. And it's all that's all kind of new for us. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. There's another layer of instrumentation over top of the things that we were already doing, which is cool. And it does make it feel bigger, especially live. It feels like a more full sound, I guess, which is cool.
Did you guys have a new guitarist for this record? Did he record in the studio as well with you guys?
Yes. This was honestly the first record we've ever done that every single member was completely hands-on, and all of the writing was 100% together, which I think really helped. Just the general mindset, we were all very much on the same page. We were constantly writing, bouncing ideas, and it'd be nice because we had two different stations where we were writing, and we could kind of poke in and poke out and being hey, I love that part, and they're oh, I've been working on it for the past hour. It's yo, it's sick, just leave, you're there, don't worry about it. And it's sick being able to work as an actual group, because a lot of bands, pick one or two members and they kind of do everything, and it's we were just fuck it, let's just, everyone's input matters, let's just do it together, and it really came out well for us. It's a great process, and we'll definitely do pretty much the same thing on everything else coming up. So
now, out of the tracks that are on the album, is there any specific track that almost didn't make it, or you guys had to rework it so many times before it was actually released?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we kind of solidified what we wanted. We had a couple of songs that didn't make the record, but for the most part, we knew what we wanted, and we kind of strategically created every piece of the puzzle to fit what we wanted it to be. And I think the record kind of speaks for itself when you listen to that. You can hear the pieces of Moths that were there before, you can hear the new things, and you can hear the bridges that go between the gaps and all the things that we've done otherwise.
So if a new music fan came up and had the option of picking one of the 4 records to listen for the first time, you still think the new record is a good one to start out?
I think we all collectively agree that it's our best work yet, which is we don't mean to say that to sound oh man, you should definitely listen to this, but honestly, it's the most effort we've ever put into an album, and you can tell, you can hear the difference, and like I said, it speaks for itself if you listen to it.
You guys are on tour right now, promoting the record. What else is next for you guys? Are you guys doing anything else for the rest of the year? I know next year you guys have Rock on the Range.
Yeah,
this is the first year that you guys have that.
Yeah, it's just cool. That's the the most massive active rock festival, and it's in our hometown. So that's also very sick. So we get to play that.
You get to sleep in and then go home whenever you want.
And our whole families get to come out and see us do something really cool. So that's awesome. But
well, this tour ends we end we get home the 19th or something in December. So this is it for the year, and we're figuring out some plans for next year and stuff. Definitely Rock on the Range is the right step, like you said. With the new record, we're trying to diversify our touring. So we got a lot of things planned out and gonna announce soon throughout the next coming months. So we're stoked. We're ready to take on some new challenges, definitely.
Now, lastly, you guys are pretty close to 10 years being a band. What is crazy? What has been your key to longevity? Because not a lot of bands last even 5 years today.
Well, I think the key is that we all hang out together, and it's not so much that we exclude ourselves from other bands that we tour with, but we all genuinely hanging out with each other. So that keeps us, in the right mindset to keep doing what we're doing, because we just like to hang out, and everybody kind of gets along and does what they want to do. So
yeah, we were and also most of us were all in kind of past bands that did touring and other things, so it's we all know what we're in for and stuff. So I think it just comes to the thing that we've just built up like this level of perseverance and stuff, and like we've definitely been through some shit, some bad shit, and it's gotten to points that we're just like, man, like, you know, you really question everything, but like we're just always, I don't know, we've been very much on the same page, especially the past couple of years. So it's I don't know, we don't really think of it as like, oh, we made it another year. It's just kind of like just going with it, and we're just still,
We're still
you know,
here.
no complaints. Yeah.